Good morning. My name is Galen, and today we're going to take a look at Matthew chapter 1. So, I want to let you know that I'm not going to be reading the Bible word for word. Um, you can do that on your own. Yeah, I'm going to read it on my own, and then I will basically try to explain what I'm getting out of it and how it relates to me. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. So I think that's a good thing to do. So that's what this is. And also, I'm not, I don't have all the answers, and so maybe there's something I need to get out of it that as you're looking at reading the same chapter that I'm doing, and you can make comments below, and I'll appreciate that. So I don't have all the answers. So Matthew basically starts with the genealogy from Abraham through David, and then from David through to Joseph. And Joseph, of course, was the earthly father of Jesus. And then as soon as that's over, it goes into the experiences that Joseph had with finding out that Mary, his fiancée, was pregnant and was going to give birth to the Messiah. And when he first found this out, he was questioning it quite a bit. And it looks like he was really thinking about quietly letting her, putting her out and not committing to that relationship. And I can definitely understand. I mean, if I heard that, I think I would be thinking the same kind of thing. But God spoke to Joseph, and the way he spoke to Joseph was through a dream. And I found that interesting because it seems to me that, and I've read it, I've read this multiple times, but I've never really, I'm really trying to dig in and read it in great detail. And so I was fascinated about that. And the dream, of course, had an angel, but I never really thought about that. I just thought it was an angel that came down and talked to him, and that would, justifiably, I could believe that pretty quick if an angel came down and see me. But an angel visiting you in a dream it took a little bit of faith on behalf of Joseph to take that in, and he did, and he knew. Joseph knew that was of God, and he did that. And of course, he passionately loved Mary, and so Joseph was a good man. I mean, Joseph's all right. But so reading it, I'm trying to relate it to myself, and one of the things I'm looking at is, how do we hear from God? I mean, you think God himself would have come down and talked to Joseph. I mean, he's the guy who's going to be taking care of Jesus. You think if that would happen, it didn't happen that way. And so I'm trying to relate it to myself. And one of the things that I've come to the conclusion for me is God talks to me in different ways. But he doesn't always talk to somebody else the same way he talks to me. It appears. But the first way God talks to me is through my family. And you get good godly counsel through your family. And so I look for my family for that. The second way is through friendships, and that's a wide range right there. Those are friends that are real close, long-term friends, and could be people in church, could be the pastor of your church speaking to you as they're preaching, and God talks to us through our preachers and our leadership, and we need to listen to that. And then for me, a lot of times I find that it's through circumstances. Things work out or they don't work out. And so a lot of times it seems like it kind of goes that way, And then, of course, there's the dreams. And in fact, I just bought this house not too long ago. And I had a couple dreams, actually, repeated dreams about buying this house. And I did. And I went with that. And I'm not going to say I was 100% for sure that was from God 100%, but I'm pretty sure it was, and I went with it, and it requires faith sometimes to do those kind of things, and so I did it, And Joseph, of course, he experienced a dream. Then you see visions. People have visions, and in the Bible there's a lot about that, where people have had visions, and I've never experienced a vision. And of course, it's I think the big one is everybody wants it, where God comes right out and talks to you directly. And I don't quite really see that happens a lot. I'm sure it does, but I don't really know anybody for sure that's really happened to. Never happened to me, but I know that when we start studying Acts and 1 Corinthians, it talks about the gifts of the Spirit, and I've heard preachers and stuff preach on hearing God through the Holy Spirit guiding you, and I believe in all that, but I kind of think what I just spoke of, those areas that for me, I think the Holy Spirit does guide me through that. And I think one of the biggest things is our knowing doing right from wrong, being convicted of doing something wrong. I think that's the big one, for me, where the Holy Spirit kind of guides me in that, and I'm trying to do the best I can, and I think we all are. And so, but those are the experiences that I've kind of gotten out of reading Matthew chapter 1. A lot of it was communication, because Joseph must have been a pretty good guy to be able to, to take all that in. He was all right. He was a good man. The other thing I was kind of thinking about just a little bit was kind of how it's hard for us. Humans are very good at communicating. Look at what we're doing right now. I'm on the internet and talking to who knows how many people. We're good communicators. But it's hard for us to really communicate with the spiritual, like God, A lot of faith involved in that. I think God made us that way for that reason, so that we'd have to have faith and hope, and we'd have to look at that. And it's kind of like with our animals too. We pet our animals and we take care of our animals, and you can kind of communicate a little bit with animals, but you can't really talk to them. And they don't really talk to us, And so I think that's an example that God has given us. Is we look down at our animals and see how we relate to them, and we kind of look up to God, and we're kind of doing the same thing with Him. And I think there's something to that. I think God made us that way for a reason. One of these days we'll be, closer to God in the spiritual realm, but right now we're not. So we're all trying to figure this out. But I really started thinking about that, because it just seems like Abraham, or it just seems like Joseph would have, seems like God would have came right down and talked directly to him, and he didn't quite do it that way. So we need to look at that. That's a good example of how God does speak to us. And so God does talk to us through dreams. So anyhow, I'm going to go on, and we'll see you on chapter 2, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any comments, leave them below, and I will definitely read them, and hopefully I'll get something out of that too. And it's, this is a good thing. And then, of course, you can click to subscribe or like the video if you liked it. And anyhow, I appreciate you, and I'll see you on Matthew chapter 2.